everyone, and welcome to the MSBA Legislative Report. The 2011 regular session of the Missouri General Assembly is now history, and during this program we're going to be talking about what passed and what didn't pass as it affects elementary and secondary education throughout the state of Missouri. Joining us from our Jefferson City offices is Mike Reed, our Associate Executive Director for Advocacy and our Chief Lobbyist here at MSBA. And Mike, the session is over now. Give us your overall impression of how the session went for education.
Well, it is over, and it was a very interesting session for education. When we started, I thought that there would be a lot of bills perhaps pushed through that were not very good for public education. In the end, if I say we didn't get hurt, I think that's probably the best way to describe it. There was a lot of bills that were discussed, but there were not a lot of bills passed. I think in the end, public schools came out okay. Could have been better, but we certainly weren't pushed into boxes that we have trouble with.
Mike, let's talk about the bills that passed first of all, and of course, probably the most important bill is the state budget for education. How did we fare there?
Well, we did. The state budget for education came out flat, the same as we've gotten for the last couple of years. While some people say, well, we should be very upset about the fact that all we're getting is flat funding and nothing, no increases. Actually, I have to say, in a tight budget year, when other people took dramatic cuts, being flat is very good. We also got a $10 million increase over the withholds from transportation funding, which is very helpful. Gas prices being what they are, transportation is a very costly thing for school districts. So while flat is not good, it's an awful lot better than being cut, as the universities received.
Now, Mike, we're hearing some reports that the governor's office thinks that there actually may be a budget shortfall and that the budget passed by the General Assembly is not balanced, meaning there might be some cuts. Is that a possibility?
That is a possibility and something we're going to have to keep watching for. We're not sure about where those are, and it's time to work with the governor's office and his budget office to make sure where cuts could be made. We will keep our members informed. Hopefully our budget will come in okay, but it is something that we always have to watch for, and it is a very troubling situation, that comments that were attributed to the governor this week.
One of the bills that passed, Mike, was the so-called Amy Hester Student Protection Act. Tell us about that.
Yes, the Amy Hester Student Protection Act was passed. This bill has been around for about 5 years. Senator Jane Cunningham is the sponsor. What it does is it intends to try to protect students who may be attacked or molested by teachers. It changes some of the ways and some of the reporting requirements, changes the investigation to outside the school board. It is a good act to protect children. When it first got started 5 years ago, there were a lot of problems with it. But I think in the end, this is an act that will protect children and be good for school boards.
And Mike, one of the positive provisions in that does allow school officials to discuss the teachers that have been dismissed for improper conduct with other school districts where they may be applying for jobs. Isn't that right?
That is correct. That's one of the big provisions, that if a school district calls, the host district has to talk about a situation when a person was released from because of such situations, and it also protects our districts from being sued. So that's a very positive situation.
Another bill that passed, Mike, was Senate Bill 81, really dealing with fine arts education, but also includes an important provision regarding summer school.
Yes, it does. This got passed at the last day, and the provision of summer school mounted on summer school funding. And what it was there was a provision that if summer school did not keep going up from year to year, the payment would be 1.25 times the number of students. This was reduced down to 1.1 times the number of students. In essence, saving the state money, but making sure that because that money comes out of the foundation formula, so it helps districts to make sure that they're not hurt, and we call it the summer school fix. So that's a very important part. Also, this bill allows districts to move funds between various fund balances to help out in certain situations.
Another issue that passed, Mike, a proposed constitutional amendment dealing with public prayer that can affect school districts, and that's an issue that will ultimately go before Missouri voters. What's that all about?
It is. It just codifies what's already in the law. It says that we cannot stop people from having public prayer. One of the provisions that we're going to have to look at very closely is the statement that if a student does not like a certain class assignment because of religious situations, then that student does not have to take part in that class assignment. So I think districts are always very aware of that situation. However, again, we will keep watching it. That will go before the voters sometime next year.
Another issue that we were watching very closely toward the end of the session, Mike, had to do with election dates, and there was some movement to eliminate some election date options for school districts. Where did we end up there?
Yes, Senate Bill 282, which changed the presidential primary in the state of Missouri, also had some problems with election dates. The original Senate bill removed the election date for school districts from and the February election date and the June election date. In working with them in the House, we were able to restore the February election date, and that bill now has the February election date in, but we lose the June election date. There was another piece of legislation that did pass that took away both of those election dates, but when the conference committee report came, that bill was defeated. However, if the governor signs it, we will not have the June election date anymore. We will only have the February, April, August, and November election dates.
As you mentioned earlier, Mike, there were a number of issues we were very concerned about at the beginning of the legislative session, and fortunately those issues did not pass. Let's talk about some of those issues that did not pass the General Assembly that were debated during the session. Tell us about some of those.
Well, some of those including teacher tenure. There was a question on changing the teacher tenure law. That did not pass. Changing the formula, the school aid formula, that because of the fact that we are not fully funding the school formula, changes in that law, that did not pass. Charter school bill that passed the House was argued in the Senate, but it did not pass and did not even come to a vote for the Senate. Expansion of virtual schools, virtual charter schools, did not pass. Social promotion, promoting students when they don't reach certain requirements, stopping that, did not pass. Vouchers did not pass. The fair tax did not pass. The Missouri Accountability Portal, which would require all school districts to put all of their budgets on an accountability portal that the state has, did not pass. There were a number of things that were debated, discussed, perhaps passed in one house, but did not pass both.
And another one of those issues, Mike, the so-called Turner fix that involved a Missouri Supreme Court decision prohibiting or allowing students to transfer from unaccredited school districts to other school districts. And there was various bills on that issue, some that we favored, some that we didn't, but that didn't go anywhere, did it?
That did not go anywhere either. That work was done on the Turner fix up until the last day. And we worked very hard to try to make sure that school districts could set requirements on how many students could come out and what would be best for all the students, both the students in the unaccredited districts and the students in the accredited districts. However, that did not pass. That case is back in court, and we'll see what happens with that.
Something else that didn't pass, Mike, and frankly was barely discussed at all, the need for additional state revenue. The state continues to have a very serious revenue shortfall, and some of the options that are out there include raising the cigarette tax, which is the lowest in the nation here in Missouri, raising the alcohol tax, and perhaps requiring the state to collect tax on internet sales, and those just went nowhere, did they?
They went nowhere. There was lip service paid to them. However, there was no real looking at revenue enhancements at all this year, be they cigarette tax or any other sort of increasing in revenue for the state of Missouri.
Mm-hmm. All right. And Mike, on the fair tax issue, we want to make sure our viewers understand that even though that did not get through the legislature this year, there is still a very strong effort to put that issue on a future ballot, isn't there?
Yes, there is. There are at least 9 petitions filed with the Secretary of State right now concerning that situation. And it is anticipated that later this summer there will be more petitions filed with the Secretary of State, and people will begin to collect signatures to put that mega sales tax on the ballot sometime next year.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mike, the session is over now, but that doesn't mean our advocacy efforts here at MSBA are stopping, and it certainly doesn't mean that our members should stop their advocacy work with their legislators, does it?
No, not at all. This is the time where we really need to get out and advocate for students and for our districts. All of those things that we talked about that did not pass will be back next year. So it's very important for our members to read up and see exactly how these various pieces of legislation affect their district, and to talk to not only their state senator and their state representative, but also members of the community on how vouchers, how open enrollment, how the fair tax, how expansion of charter schools really do affect their district and affect their students. They are the elected people to elect and make sure that they are the guardians of the tax revenue of the district. And it's extremely important that when these pieces of legislation start to diminish that tax revenue in their district, the expansion of charter schools, which would, the expansion of virtual charter schools, which would take away tax money from the school district and give it to private companies, that's extremely important. And our members need to be very aware of it and to keep advocating for students and their districts.
And Mike, now that the session is over, it's really a good time, isn't it, to meet with legislators? They're back in their districts, and frankly, they have more time to talk now, don't they?
They do. They have a lot more time to talk, and it's a great time to visit with their members who are home. So this is when I hope that people really become involved. Also come to the various MSBA functions that we have and where we can discuss these matters.
All right, Mike Reed, thanks a lot for being with us and giving us your insights during the 2011 session of the General Assembly. We appreciate that very much and appreciate all your good work on behalf of public schools in Missouri in advocating there at the Capitol. Thanks very much. And we thank you for joining us for this edition of the MSBA Legislative Report. This is our final video report for the year, but we will be keeping you up to date on many of the issues Mike was just discussing during the coming months as we work toward preparing for the next session of the General Assembly coming up in January of 2012. Thanks for being with us on this edition of the MSBA Legislative Report.